Well, greetings. My name is Mark Schoepp, and I'll be talking with you for about 30 minutes or so around health and wellness. We like to share some information that we've learned over the years that's been very important to us. And just a quick word, if you have questions, best is to contact the person who connected you to this video or contact me, and we'd be happy to answer your questions. I'm going to share with you around some PowerPoint slides. That's really the best way to look at this thing. And so we're going to do that right now. I'm going to share, and I want to start with that slide and get this going. All right, so we're talking again about health and wellness, and actually additionally about the immune system. We're going to say some things about that, especially these days in COVID. Here's my wife and I, my wife Becky. I worked for many years in Lutheran churches as a parish educator. Together with my wife and my 4 kids, we traveled for 12 years as a juggling troupe of all things, and did a variety of things. But these days I'm retired, and we are focused on health and wellness and sharing our story with others, hoping to be helpful to them in their own journey. And we didn't know it at the time, but the man in the middle is my dad, Walt. He played a major role in our own health journey, particularly Becky's. And we didn't know it at the time, but his triple bypass surgery in 1975 became a watershed moment for us. I, of course, knew about the triple bypass. I did not know, however, that he had been introduced to Neolife at the time, a company that produced very well-made nutritional supplements, and had been on those for the whole time, well, really the rest of his life. And they made a huge difference. He went 30 years after triple bypass. That's about 10 years more than the most that make it. We attribute it to certainly prayer support. He was a well-loved pastor. He changed his lifestyle. You have to do that. And then he filled the gaps nutritionally with Neolife all 30 years. So then it's a heart bypass. And then Becky's cancer came along in 1992. And my dad immediately, like within hours, I think, called us and said, Mark, you guys have to get engaged with Neolife and get Becky on these supplements. Becky agreed right away. She knew she was facing radiation treatments, a heavy dose of those. And she knew because of where they were going to radiate, it was going to be very difficult to eat. So we immediately got on that. And the mother bear in her said, if I'm going to take it, our whole family's taking it. So we have been on that ever since, approaching 30 years ourselves. And it's made a huge difference for her. That was our introduction to Neolife, and it's been with us ever since. So 30 years afterwards, in a very active life, and Becky now 30 years out. Norm on the far right, however, a different story. That's Becky's dad. We're 2 PKs. And Walt had a wake-up call with health. My wife had a wake-up call with health. Norm, no major wake-up call, no catastrophic chronic disease, but lots of nagging things. And he would wrestle with his health. He tried as he could with weight. He yo-yoed on his weight, tried to do diets, lost weight, and then gained more back. And just never could get a handle on that. So he always had sort of small notes and just never a wake-up call that really encouraged him to be different. We tried to do what we could do, but in his late 30s and early 40s, he was already saying, what's happening to me is because I'm just getting old. He just assumed there was no other way around it, and it was just part, excuse me, part of the aging process. And the result of that was he had a badly compromised life, particularly in all 20 years of his retirement. Now, he lasted as long as my dad did. But my dad was able to be very active and engaged, and Norman's 20 years of retirement were very different, badly compromised. He and his wife unable to do the things they had planned to do during retirement because of health and the burden that brought on financially and otherwise. And he was unable actually to be the caretaker he wanted to be for his wife, Doris, who had Alzheimer's. So it was those 2 stories, those 3 stories really have sort of been the defining thing for us in terms of being very proactive about health. And it's why we want to share what we have. So we're going to talk mostly about what we eat, diet and nutrition. And it says you are what you eat, and 75% of all chronic diseases are preventable. We were talking about that with Norman. And my dad got heart because he was an exerciser, but he was not eating very healthy. And so there's really three things involved in being healthy. It's not difficult. It's not complicated. I don't mean to imply that it's easy to do, especially with all the forces we have going in the wrong direction today for health. So you start with physical activity. And I purposely did not use the word exercise. It does not have to be an athlete level exercise. It just means you have to be active. And then food, the diet, not be on a diet, but diet what we eat. And then if those two are done well, weight management typically is in control. And we see lots and lots of people who are overweight, and largely it's because those other two pieces are not being done well. And so Canada uses this, the US as well has shifted from the pyramid. So you can see that really half of your plate on a regular basis needs to be fruits and vegetables. I don't know about you, that's not typical for my plate. Then lots of healthy proteins, variety of forms those can take. And the bottom, lots of whole grains. We're going to talk about whole grains and how that's very different these days because of how our food is manufactured. And then there has to be a drink associated with that, hydration. And the best choice is water, although we tend to drink not enough of that and lots of things that are getting us in trouble. Many folks are drinking their calories and getting in trouble that way. And just a quick word about water. I'm not going to say much. You can take a quick look at this while I'm talking. I want to particularly say about blood pressure. I have blood pressure issues if I don't drink enough water. Based on my numbers, the doctors would want to medicate me if I stated those numbers. When I hydrate enough, and it's very close to a gallon a day for men, my blood pressure is in a level that is manageable. And then remove waste. You can see a couple spots underneath that. That we learned about with Becky. The lymph system is critical, much driven by how well we're hydrated. So lots and lots of things about simply water to make us healthy. We like to focus on what we're not eating in terms of what the problem is. We often hear, oh, you're eating lousy things, you're eating junk food, etc., and we are. But the problem is what the result is that we're not getting the stuff that's critical for our health. So there was this long study and widely spread study across the world. You can see 6 countries there, 5 countries. There was many more than that involved, and it was over 27 years. And the result of that basically was, you can see US in the middle there, we're not getting enough of these critical things: whole grains, fruit, nuts and seeds, omega-3, and vegetables. That's the problem. It is a problem we're getting too much sweetened beverages, yes. High processed meat, of course, but that's replacing the stuff that helps our body function well. Just a quick word about whole grains. These days, they're typically no longer whole. You really have to work very hard to actually get whole grain. What happened was about 1950s or so, the manufacturers were trying to get us inexpensive food, and they knew that the bread, for example, didn't last on the shelf very long. It molds very quickly. Well, they learned the reason it molded was there's around the husk and the lining of the grain seed, there's oil, lipids and sterols, it's called. And they said, well, that's the reason our food is going rancid fast. How important can that stuff be? Let's just remove that and see what happens. And of course, they removed it. Long shelf life. Trouble was, those grain oils are critical to our health. And even back in 1994, a doctor was saying it's perhaps the most important health problem in America. So if you see whole grain these days on a box or a label on a food item, well, it's legal to put whole grain on, but it's deceptive because really it's not whole grain. The FDA and the CDC have allowed companies to try to replace the grain oils with other stuff. It's not replacing what was in the grain oil. And so the problem is, the bottom line for the companies is not good for us. It's good for their bottom line. Certainly we have cheaper food because of that, but we don't have healthier food. Here's a quick look at the grain, one grain of wheat or whatever, lots and lots of important nutrients in there. And when we start processing that, as most of our food is processed, many of those nutrients are lost. We have the calories are still there, but the nutrients tend to be knocked out. So Time Magazine highlighted some research that showed that vitamins can fill the gaps. Well, then you're left with the question, well, will I do it or won't I? 75% of the population has said, I think we need to supplement. We're not getting what we think we need. That's up already from 65% about 10 years ago. So many folks are doing it, and then they're left with the question, who do I trust? Where am I going to buy them? You can see some names we recognize well: GNC, Target, Walmart, Vitamin Shop, GNC again. These are from 2015. There's much more recent ones than that even, about stuff that's in the products but is very poor quality, or in fact stuff that's in the products and should not be there because it's dangerous and toxic. And here's another example: 2007, a study from 2007 to 2016, 776 products marketed as dietary supplements contained hidden active ingredients. They weren't even there. And folks, the regulations don't require that you list everything that's in. That's part of the problem, is that it's unregulated and you have to rely on the integrity of the company. Well, we'd like to tell you that you can trust the company we've been associated with for 30 years. Scientific Solutions since 58, so that's 62 years the company's been around. Pharmaceutical license not required, but they do it because they want to be at that level of quality. 50 countries around the world, and they match or exceed all the requirements of those 50 countries. They are an industry pioneer in nutrition. They follow the science, they don't follow the fads. And the scientists that work with Neolife have been invited often into prestigious conferences, medical conferences, etc., because they do the hard work and they have found out important information. So scientific excellence, first company to champion whole food supplementation. That'll make sense a little later. And to focus on cellular health. That'll also make sense a little later. That's critical. And so we have to ask, well, a lot of companies say we got natural stuff. Well, all of those things listed there are natural. And in fact, all of those things are included in some supplements that you can buy. Why would you buy those? Because they're not in the human food chain. That's what Neolife says. Nothing in our products is put in except it comes from the human food chain. You can see whole grains, fruits and vegetables, wild salmon, seeds and nuts. Hey, that's the list of the 22 from the 22-year study of the critical things that are missing. Neolife's been at that for 62 years. So lots of science to get that done. And you know, when things couldn't be done because they didn't have the equipment or the procedures, they invented it. So state of the art. And there's not many companies, production companies, who will work with Neolife because of our stringent standards. And this is Arthur First, our scientific advisory board. Arthur First was a world-renowned toxicologist. He's died in 2005. And Becky's aware of him because of the cancer world. He was very engaged in the very beginning stages of chemotherapy, and the chemotherapy cocktail therapy. They talked about more than one drug at a time. And at the time, he was also studying the effects of nutrition on cancer and prevention of cancer. And that's where he ended up moving, because he didn't want to spend his time treating. He wanted to spend his time preventing. And so he searched out and found Neolife. We did not come to him. And he brought together this and there's actually others, the scientists on in that slide. We know most of them. They show up at our conferences and we can talk to them. They do the hard work. They're not just a sort of a face on a business card because you want to show that you got some connection. No, they are the hard workers, and they drive the products that we have in Neolife. And then again, we're associated and connected to, in relationships, strong relationships with all of these organizations, solid science. So we're going to talk about those gaps that we talked about in that study and that we think are critical. First one is going to be that green pill that you see there on the left of those 4 pills. We call this Pro Vitality. People said, you know, you make a lot of different products, Neolife. We don't know where to start. And our scientists said, okay, we're going to help you, because we know before this 22-year study was done, they had looked at studies and done their own studies to say, we know these are the things that you're typically in short supply. So the first one is whole grain, the whole grain gap. We call it 3-in-1, 3-in-1 grain concentrates. Those are essential fatty acids called phytolipids and sterols. And they come from the part of the grain that's not gluten. So it's less gluten in our product than a bowl of gluten-free cereal. But critical, developed in a hospital research study. So in the 50s, when the manufacturers took out this lipids and sterols and no more rotting of food on the shelves, guess what happened? Chronic fatigue sets into people because we're missing this critical nutrient. When the food company said, well, how important can these be? Well, it turns out they're critically important. So that study established clearly that lipids and sterols need to be brought back into our diet strongly, and they promote cellular energy and efficiency. So we'll take a look at that. How does it work? Cellular level. So every cell, and there's different sizes and shapes of cells in our body, hundreds of millions of those. Those cells all have a membrane. Think of it as a skin to keep it, as a unit. And that membrane needs, dramatically so, needs the lipids and sterols to be functional, to be supple. Think of it as the food and the anus of the cell. Nutrition gets in, waste gets out. When that doesn't function well, not enough nutrients get in, and the waste can't get out. That's a problem. So when you have a healthy cell, it gets enough lipids and sterols from whole grains. The flow of nutrients in and out, waste out, is efficient. And I think of it as another term. I think of it as constipation and starvation. We don't like that on a personal level, on a body level. Our cells don't like it either. And when they are constipated and starving because of no lipids and sterols, generally we just aren't functioning well. So it's about cell efficiency, but guess what? It's even more than that. It's about the hormone system in our bodies. Both men and women are regulated by hormones, and that lipids and sterols is critical to that efficiency. So women in menopause, as an example, they notice a dramatic difference when they get enough whole grains, and the hormonal system balances out dramatically differently in menopause than it does without that. So here's a look at the study, Texas A&M University, 50% increase in efficiency in the cell. That's a huge thing, and it makes a difference in how our body functions. Every cell works better. Second thing in that list is carotenoid complex, that little dark gel cap. And think of it as fruits and vegetables. That's what our grandmother said and our mom said. Eat your fruits and veggies. Turns out they knew what they were talking about. USDA has proven its efficiency and efficacy. Neolife said we're going to study it ourselves, and they were surprised by the results of the USDA. When they presented at these major conferences, the USDA came to Neolife and said, hey, we'd like to do some testing on that. We said yes, and they affirmed what we already knew. Boosting immune capacity, 37% in 20 days. So unique that it was patented, and it's been presented at the New York Academy of Sciences. If you look on the upper right, you can see it basically comes from bright colored fruits and vegetables. And in one box, which is about a month's supply, it's the equivalent of 80 pounds of raw fruits and vegetables in every box. Now, I don't know about you, I don't get 80 pounds of fruits and vegetables in a month. And without that, it makes a difference in our health. So what changes? What's it about? Well, free radical damage is critical. A cell that's not protected gets damaged by its oxidation. I'll show you another slide that'll help understand that. Protection, fruits and vegetables, carotenoids, protects the cell from damage. And again, a protected cell works better than a damaged cell. And so I think of it this way. Oxidation is the term. Think of it as rust. When metal is not protected, it rusts. And that set of gears is not going to function very well. Neither do our cells when they're being damaged. So the third piece is omega-3 salmon oil. Our source is fish, mostly salmon oil, salmon, and it's because that fish source gives all 8 of the omega-3s. Any supplements that are out there, you check, and they're going to typically give 2, maybe 3. Neolife says, look, the body needs 8, we're going to make sure you get 8, because it's like a set of dominoes. If there's a missing piece, it doesn't, the dominoes don't tip over properly. And when you talk about fish, you know that you have to worry about contamination. Most companies test for 4 or 5 different things. Neolife has said we're going to test for 200 plus different contaminants. We're adding things all the time that we know we have to test for, and we have zero tolerance. Here's what happens. Every shipment that comes, literally every shipment that comes is tested, all 200 plus. And if it comes up 1, it blips 1 on the scale, that shipment goes back to the supplier. And our suppliers have said, they've learned not to ask anymore, but they said, look, we can sell this to anybody in the supplement industry. Why won't you buy it? Well, we say, we won't, because we have zero tolerance. Bring it to us pure, we'll buy it. And then the clinical trials proved that it was effective in reducing inflammation by 68%. And inflammation is driving lots and lots of our chronic diseases. Here you can see a list of all the things that benefit from an adequate amount of high-quality omega-3s: heart health, inflammation, brain and central nervous system, behavior, mood, depression, all of those kind of things, immunity, eye health and vision. All kinds of things are affected negatively and positively by adequate amounts of that omega-3. And you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, I'm going to come back to that pregnancy thing in a second, inflammation. And to talk about what that is in a second, but it's driving all the major chronic diseases. You can see that circle of doom there, basically. And we can have more than one of those at a time. Here's inflammation on a short-term level. We know what happens when we sprain an ankle, and this is quite a sprain because you can see the bruising that's happening there. Well, what do? The body knows, it rushes stuff to the site that's damaged, and that's why it swells up. That's inflammation. Supposed to do that. It's part of the healing process when it happens on that incidental singular level. Chronic inflammation would be like your ankle staying swollen and sprained all the time. You know you're not going to function very well. That's inflammation at a chronic level. When your blood vessels, when your cells are all inflamed and not functioning well. And again, here's the list of things that happen poorly. And so that test, clinically proven, 68% reduction. There's a simple blood test. I get it done regularly because it affects the high cholesterol that I have. But when I have a little higher elevated cholesterol, if my inflammation index is low, C-reactive protein, CRP, then that combination is okay. High inflammation, I'd be in trouble. I'd have to find ways to get my cholesterol levels down. You can see triglycerides reduced by 17%, omega-3 to omega-6 ratio improved, and again, that inflammation index down by 68%. So critical. I mentioned about a pregnancy before. You know, doctors say pregnant women need to get good nutrition. In fact, they'll suggest to them often multivite. That's critical. And omega-3, it turns out, is critical for the fetus and development of the brain, central nervous system, all the things we listed before. That's developing in the womb. And so you want strong nutrition at that point. And it also turns out that the woman is less in danger of postpartum depression with adequate and increased levels of omega-3s. So very important. And then the last of those 4 pills is just simply what most classify as a multivite. 21 additional micronutrients. Micronutrients meaning very small amounts of them. We don't need a lot, but we do need to have it. Neolife knows what you need and make sure you get it in this additional pill. And so in one pack, that's a 30-day supply of those. Each 4 of those comes in a little pack per day. 12 pounds of whole grain, the equivalent of 12 pounds of whole grain, 80 pounds of raw fruits and vegetables, and 10 servings of omega-3 rich fish in every box, critical to the health and directly addressing what the studies have said we're lacking. And again, we've kind of repeating ourselves, but abundant energy, immune strength, et cetera, all these things are helped, are boosted when we get adequate amounts and fill the gaps of our nutritional lack. And it shows up in other ways. There's lots of testimonies we can share about kids who, when they get adequate amounts of these things, salmon oil, omega-3s, the treanin, the hyperactivity is dramatically reduced when the body gets the nutrition that it needs. And then like, well, kids can't take salmon oil. Well, we know that some that are, and my wife does it in fact now because she's taking so many pills. She has trouble swallowing because of some damage now to the esophagus. So she just simply chews the salmon oil and it works fine. They have a liquivite made, particular in the left there, for toddlers, pre-ability to chew a pill, for example, a chewable. On the right side are 2 different chewables made particularly for kids that are both of them giving you those 4 nutrients that are missing. So we have nutrition for babies all the way up. Now, we want to match that with a protein, amino acids. That's a critical addition in terms of what's missing in our diet. And ours is made to be a meal replacement. So you take that instead of breakfast or lunch. And here's what's inside there. All 22, again, 22 amino acids. I don't think there's, in fact, any other protein products that give all 22. Most give only 8, some up to 14. The high quality score there is related to the digestibility. Most protein scores are way lower than they should be. Ours is as high as it can get because we make it purposely to be usable by the body. 18 grams per serving, meal replacement, they add fiber, they add essential vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, etc. And glycemic response we're going to talk about in a second. That's very important if weight is an issue and dealing with the high level of sugar in our typical diet. Here's the things that are not in there. Nothing artificial, gluten, preservatives, etc. And then, of course, no GMOs. Very, very careful in what they make, and they've been making this for years. And we've used it for years ourselves. It's tremendously helpful. So why is it important? Well, raw material for making cells, the amino acids. Protein is basically amino acids. It's critical for repairing the cells. So if you have this damage, you can't be replacing them all the time. You've got to sometimes just repair. That's amino acids. Immune system and antibodies, amino acids. Hormone system, energy production, normal digestion, and more. Protein, amino acids is very critical. We need to get a high quality, high volume of that to be healthy. And then weight management is a concern, and we prefer that term management versus loss, weight loss. We know people sometimes need to lose weight, for sure. But you have to take the long-term approach and think of it as weight management. I think of my father-in-law, Norman. Went on lots of fat diets. He did lose weight, but he didn't lose it sustainably, and he went back, in fact, worse than he was the first time. We also have a 3-day detox. I like it. Well, Becky likes it because it does remove toxins. Dr. Arthur First, we mentioned him before. He produced a very natural product called BetaGuard that helps the body remove toxins. I like the detox, 3-day detox, because it resets the gut. Our gut is so critical to our immune system, and this 3-day detox does a wonderful job of eliminating the bad flora and fauna, the bacteria, and reboosting with the healthy. And that balance is critical to our immune system and overall function. And then lots of other things, kind of a nice jump start to weight loss, slow premature aging of our cells, and increased energy. So here's what the weight loss program looks like. You have a shake in the morning, shake at lunch, and then healthy snacks in between. It's a good thing for the body to have food throughout the course of the day. You can't starve yourself. That's a recipe for disaster. And then at the end of the day, a well-balanced meal, and lots of people have been very successful. Here's that glycemic response. We have the spike between sugar in our blood and when our pancreas produces the insulin. And the larger the spike and valley, the more unhealthy it is. So Neolife's product helps the body to prevent fat storage, promote fat burning, maintain more consistent daily energy, and tamps down that spike and valley to a better, smoother curve through the course of the day. Much better approach to health. And then this protein was studied, again, third-party studies, and this was an interesting study. People were giving, they said to the participants, don't change anything in how you live. We're just going to ask you to eat one protein shake per day. That's it. Just add that protein shake per day. And these are the results. Everyone lost weight, some more than others. Average 10% body fat reduction, lowered body mass index, cardioprotective. There were better readings, reduction in LDL, the bad cholesterol, and improved HDL to LDL ratio. So good things happened with just adding the protein shake. This is a study that came from August of 2014, a well-respected journal, third party. So here's some examples. 34 pounds for Gabby Martinez. This is her mom, 20 pounds in 5 months. Here's what she, I think, likes the best. She certainly loved losing of weight, but when the body gets better nutrition, it's often able to perform better, and you lose the symptoms that you're taking the prescription drugs for. So often the drugs can be reduced, sometimes even eliminated. And the pharmacy tends to be about tamping down symptoms, and nutrition is about fixing the problem. Other examples, 40 pounds in 7 months. And this was with just a breakfast pack. He didn't even do it with weight loss pack. And then Carlos, we know Carlos. He looks exactly like he does on the right there, still today. And the wonderful thing about Carlos is, if you know stories like the television show, The Biggest Loser, those people lost a tremendous amount of weight in a very short amount of time in an unsustainable regimen, that they had for this TV show. Almost all of them gained almost all of that weight back afterwards. You can track that. Not so with Carlos. And many of those people who lost the weight fast also ended up having lots of excess skin hanging around, so they had to have surgery to deal with the excess skin. Not Carlos. Lost it in a slow, methodical, healthy way. The body was able to reduce that skin and come back to a normal body size and function. So a tremendous difference. So as I said before, wide range of products, and they've been at it a long time. They're all made whole food sourced and very readily usable by the body. One thing I want to highlight, one of the most current products, the most recent products, is vitamin D. Now this happened by accident. They've been working on this vitamin D for a very long time, but it turns out the timing couldn't have been better, because in this COVID world, there's lots of studies, a ton of studies, that says people who are deficient, especially dramatically deficient in vitamin D, are the ones who have the most trouble with the COVID symptoms and the bad results from the COVID disease. And so the doctors are strongly recommending a supplementation of vitamin D. And our source is the best product, very affordable, turns out to be about $5 per month. So how do you get engaged with these products? Turns out that all it takes is a club membership. And when you think Costco, you think you got to pay for that. Not with Neolife. We just want you to get engaged and join. There's no minimum order. There's no cost to join, but here's some benefits. Free to join, reduced price like you would expect to find at Costco and et cetera, up to 30%, typically 15 to 20 and 25, monthly delivery, the auto ship, and we incentivize auto ship, because if you're going to use it, make it come regularly. And if you stay regular for 6 months, all of the money you spent on shipping will be sent back to you in terms of products you can buy on a special list of products. So it's like you didn't pay anything for shipping, and you get extra products. Personal website where you control the order, you track the order, you can look at more information about different products. There's a 3 for free program. So we don't advertise in magazines, on the TV, whatever. Our advertising is word of mouth. And that means when you tell people, you get product for free. If you're in a health pack and 3 additional of your friends get on that same health pack, yours is free as long as they stay. And then the same thing can happen with them. It just keeps moving on. That's how we advertise. And join the challenge. We again put our money where our mouth is. I'll have a slide about this later. And we encourage and incentivize healthy lifestyle, not just buy magic pills. Lots of events and community. It's a strong, healthy, and enjoyable group of folks who are like-minded and support each other in their health journey. So step 1, how do you get engaged? You pick a product. These are the 4 health packs. You can pick anything else you want on the product list that we have. This is the best seller. Second thing is encourage others to join, and you can get your product for free. And then lastly, the challenge. No reason to join other than it helps you to be better at your health. 30-day challenge. We've been involved in that ourselves to get a t-shirt. In fact, I think the t-shirt I'm wearing is one of those. 90-day challenge is incentivized by large gifts, large prizes, $1,000 products, 500 gear, 500 cash per person. 5 of those per quarter are given away. Neolife has given away a lot of money to people to incentivize living how we're supposed to live anyway. And then the 1-year challenge as well, given away at convention, 1,000 cash, $1,000 shopping spree, and more. So again, we love how Neolife incentivizes the things we should be doing anyway. Now, for some folks, maybe you like to help others. Neolife is built as a network marketing company, and so you can be a member, or you can also become a promoter, and we have done that ourselves. Early in the years, we just wanted to buy the products, that's all. These days, we're building a business, and we know helping people as well with their health, and so you can earn additional income if that's helpful. In these days of COVID, there's a lot of people looking for some kind of alternative to what they had before. Lots of training and support, including a Facebook community, one for just about healthy living and testimonials, one particularly on the business side. And we have just reached a level where we get sent to a leadership school. We're not sure when that's going to be in COVID, but they have a wonderful incentive package and they train you well. Strong community of people that we love to be a part of. They're great people and have developed into good friends. So you decide. A is become a customer, buy the products and get the discounts, and perhaps you can even get it for free if you share it with friends. B, become a promoter and earn a part-time or a professional level income. Or C, hey, no thanks, not now. I'll think about it. Get back to the person who invited you, and if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. So yeah, we again thank you for your attention, and we hope that you have a blessed life and a healthy life. Thank you.